place a COD, and we'll start with that, and then we're gonna go over this persistency report that Deanne's been sending out. And it's the future persistency report, but it's there to try to help make sure that we stay on top of writing good business, but also, you know, your bonus and your commission rate, okay? Because obviously if it drops below a certain percentage, then it's going to dock your advance, and it can impact your bonus. So this is some ways to help prevent that. So let's go over how to place a COD first. So Deanne passed out, let me actually see what you passed out here. An example of what you need for, to place a COD, and this is perfect because this is that one I did for Terry. So I guess the most common example of this is gonna be if you sit down with an employee and you write group term to 100 or group term paid up at 65, and it comes back ALX for some reason. So there's a couple reasons that would happen. Anybody over 50 years old is gonna get a QAC call. If they don't complete that QAC call, it's automatically gonna get issued an ALX policy, okay? So if that happens and it's because they just never completed the QAC call, you can get them to complete that QAC and actually get it reversed, okay? So you always wanna make sure that there's no mistake with your COD, because sometimes that can be the case. But Deanne does a fabulous job sending out emails on the QAC, so make sure you open up those attachments on a weekly basis. Make sure you don't have any policyholders on there. Like I looked, there's one for AJ, I think Jasmine has one, and I think that's all that's on that QAC call right now.
Aspen has one as well.
Who?
I think Aspen still has one.
Oh yeah, Aspen, yeah. But what's nice about that report is on the right-hand side, it's gonna say the amount of attempts home office has been trying to get in touch with that policyholder. So you can kind of see if they're not having any luck. So you wanna call that policyholder, give them the QAC number, and have them complete it. And the best way is if you have the time, you can even do three-way with the QAC and just make sure that you know that that gets done, okay? And
That's
as
the best
many
way.
times,
So that's the best way.
Yeah, the best way, yep. As many times as they say that they try to contact policyholders, I don't know if they leave voicemails. I always ask them, like, have you gotten a voicemail that home office has been trying to reach them? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But the point is just stay on top of that. It's a really easy phone call with the policyholder, okay? The other reason that something would get switched to ALX is if they go through those health questions and then the policyholder discloses something that would disqualify them from group term, and it would change it to an ALX policy. If that happens, when you get your COD in your mailbox, so what Deanne will do, the process is she's gonna email you, letting you know that you have a COD and that she's put it in your mailbox, okay? So you'll get the email if you're out in the field, and then when you come to the office on Friday or Monday, you'll actually have the paperwork, okay? And there's a couple things that you want to do when you, this is a different one?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what they look like when you get your CODs. If you guys haven't seen the video, it's complicated.
Here, actually, let me see this one.
I would like to take the person whoever in home office like folds these and makes these and go smack with the paper.
COD stands for cash on delivery. Okay.
So that whole stack of papers comes in a big wad of a bunch of information that you guys necessarily don't need on hand immediately to get that approval. So I try and pull out the pertinent information, the policy.
It actually means certificate of delivery.
Certificate
Yeah,
of
not
delivery?
cash on, yeah, certificate of
Okay.
delivery.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay.
it means you're delivering the certificate
Right.
and they're signing it.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't catch it was cash on delivery. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, certificate.
Sorry, Mark. So I just email you those particular papers, and basically, like she was saying, those two papers that I gave you, those are the ones we need back, so I can email those to home office with the approval of the request on the ALX. So we kind of break it down, and then that big stack there of all that stuff. we can there.
Now, the first thing you want to do when you actually get it in your mailbox, so when you get the original email, if I were you, don't stress about it. Just wait till you get to the office and actually look at the packet. Because when you open it, there's three things that it could be, okay? So one is it's switched to an ALX. You absolutely need a signature, these two signatures, in order to place it. As soon as it gets switched to an ALX, it's an automatic chargeback, okay? So if you see a chargeback on that Tuesday, and it gets switched to an ALX, once you place the ALX, they'll reverse that for you, okay? So that's option one. The other thing is, like for example, if you write a Career Life Plus, if they reduce the face amount, you might get something in your mailbox for that. So you gotta see, is it an ALX or is it just they reduce the face amount? And the third scenario is if you write an individual policy, which I know we don't do a ton of, but if you do, and they get rated, it'll look just like that, but it'll say that they've increased the premium. So if it was supposed to be $40 a month, it might now be $50. But what's awesome about that, which I just learned this recently, is if they do that, you actually don't need a signature. Because what home office will do is they'll send an email to the policyholder saying, hey, you know, the good news is your policy's been issued. You applied for it for the amount of coverage to be $40 a month. We have, and I forget what the verbiage is exactly, but basically we have determined that the correct monthly premium is $50. We will waive it this month, but starting next month on the 12th of every single month, you'll see the new premium $50 being drafted. And that's the gist of what the email is. They'll get the email first. I got an email on one, so I guess they copy the agent, and then you'll get that in your mailbox, and it'll be their policy with the cover letter, and you actually don't need a signature, which I like, because if you did, you'd have to call them and be like, hey, are you okay with this? But I guess what home office is doing is just letting them know, hey, it's an increased premium. If you have a problem, it's gonna draft on the 12th, get with your agent. So, which is nice, it makes it easier on us, okay?
And which policy is that?
That's on individual policies, whole life. You won't see that on anything with worksite, okay? But the most common one we're gonna see is group term that's switched to ALX, okay? So this is the process. There's a bunch of different ways that you can place these, but I'm just gonna kind of give you the process that I do when I'm trying to place these. So on the second page, okay, it's going to say, whatever the monthly amount, it doesn't take into the week, like let's say it's a weekly deduction, you'll see what the monthly amount is, and then you'll see the new face amount. So let's say you applied for $10 a week for $10,000 in coverage. Well, now it might be $40, it'll say $40 a month for $7,500, but it's an ALX, okay? What that's saying is the face amount's now $7,500. It's an ALX policy, which I'm going to go over what that means. But the deduction amount will still be the same, okay? But then it'll also give you the option if that employee would like the full $10,000, what the new premium would be, okay? And so let's say that same $10,000, instead of it being $10 at $40 a month or whatever it is, now it's $70 a month for $10,000. Okay, so I like to do some easy math. So let's just say that is the case. You can kind of figure out if they want $15,000 in coverage, or like let's say, I'm gonna kind of make it a different example. Let's say they applied for $20,000 and it got reduced way down to $7,000. It'll tell you what that monthly amount is for $20,000. Let's say you just want to say, okay, if you want a $10,000 policy, what you can do is take that monthly amount and divide it by 2. So now you have an option if that employee wants $10,000. So it's just an easy way. So when you call the employee, you can give them some options and just let them pick, which you'll kind of hear as I do the verbiage, okay? But what's nice is if you do, like with group term, a lot of times it's an even number. It's like 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Then you can divide it and it's really easy math, okay? Because sometimes with ALX, it comes back like a really weird face amount. Like sometimes it might come back $5,583. Well, that's a really weird amount for somebody to want to take out. So you can give them options, like if they originally applied for 20, you can give them options for 15, 10 by just doing the math with the monthly premium. Does that make sense? And so what I usually do is on that inside cover sheet where it says this was switched to ALX due to medical, what was received on the quality call, you know that they did the quality call, something came back in their medical history. Can you see that on there, Craig? I'm gonna grab, I have one in my office that's for that client. So I have like, okay, you applied for, we'll use the example 20,000. You applied for 20,000, which I wanna back up because I wanna say exactly how I go over how to go over those new premium amounts. But you'll have an option for the 20,000, then do the math so they have an option for 10,000 and then whatever it was accepted for, okay? So then I call the client, and the first thing you wanna tell them is everything's good news. So that's like the biggest trick with placing ALX, is because yes, this is gonna be a surprise to the client, but you wanna make sure that it's good news. Obviously, if it came back ALX, something that it takes a lot of people to understand that if it goes back, if something gets switched to ALX, that means that there's something in their health history where it's difficult for them to qualify for good life insurance, okay? So a lot of times the client already knows this, okay? So like if you have had cancer in the past or a heart attack in the past or something like that, and typically we would find that out by doing the health questions, but sometimes policyholders don't, or employees don't tell us that when we're sitting down with them. So, but they tell the person on the quality call. So sometimes that happens, but if they know that they've had, seizures in the past or, epilepsy or cancer or heart attacks, like they know that. So just, you can have that confidence that in a way they already know that it's difficult for them to get good life insurance, okay? So when you call them up, you wanna say, hey, I have some really good news. I just got notice that your policy did get issued, okay? So I'm really happy about that because I know when we talked, you completed that quality call, and I know there was something in the background that, sometimes it might be difficult to qualify for good life insurance, but the good thing is we did get the policy issued, okay? But it did come back with some options. So that's how you want to introduce it, okay? So good news, policy got issued, but it did come back with some options,
What do you
okay?
call it ALX? Would you call it something different?
I just call it whole life, because that's
Whole
what it is. Yeah, it's a modified whole life policy, but
Do you say modified part or you say whole life?
I say whole life. The good news is it got issued, but it came back with some options. And actually, and this is usually how I transition, what they came back with, I think it's actually pretty good because it's going to be paid up in 20 years, which is actually better than the original policy that you applied for. The other one, it was group term that covers you all the way to age 100, so you would pay on it for the rest of your life. This one's completely paid up in 20 years. So you always want to start with the best news. The other good thing about the policy is the first 3 years that you have the policy, any money that you pay into it will actually go into an account for your beneficiary, and it's going to grow at a 10% interest guaranteed. Okay, so this is basically how the modified life policy works, and it's going to grow at a 10%, and again it's guaranteed, which is great because even if you put that money into a bank account, banks and investments they never give you a guaranteed 10%. So that's what I like about it. So if something did happen, God forbid, if you were to pass away in those first 3 years, any money that you pay into it plus that 10% is going to pay back to your beneficiary as the death benefit, and then starting that 4th year it pays the full amount, and then like I said, it's paid up in 20 years. Okay, so it's a really good policy, what it got issued as, but you have some options. Okay, so I know that you were okay with whatever amount being deducted. So let's say you were good with $15 per pay period. And I don't say the face amount. I try to keep that, I don't want to put highlight on that you originally applied for a bigger amount, okay? I put highlight on what they said was okay to come out payroll, okay? So, I know you agreed that $15 a pay period was okay, so the face amount they came back with, and again, it's paid up in 20 years, is whatever that face amount is. So let's say it's $8,600, okay? So $8,600, and again, that is a whole life policy. It's paid up in 20 years, and like I said, the first 3 years, it's gonna build that 10% interest for that death benefit, okay? So that's option 1, okay? Option 2, and then I go to the next one that I did the math on. So let's say you just wanna have $10,000. If you wanna have $10,000 as the death benefit, then this is what your new deduction amount will be. Let's say it's $21.50, okay? Because it's gonna be more money than they originally agreed on. And then the last one is if you wanted the full $20,000, and then this is the new deduction amount. And then this is how I close it out, okay? I say, the key thing is, which is good that you had locked in your age and health, because obviously we're never younger than we are today, but we'll be back next year for open enrollment. So, you know, if you want to increase it to one of the higher levels, you can. But which option works best for you? And then just let them pick, okay? And a lot of times we'll say, well, just, you know, I'm good with it's whatever that they put the most focus on. I'm good with just, you know, what I agreed on, the $15 or whatever it is, okay? And that's how you place the call, or that's the verbiage on the call. Now let's say they pick the 10,000 or like the full 20,000, like they're okay with paying more, then you actually have to get, you have to get the signature on the cover page, which you're gonna get anyways. But on the second page, if you turn to this handout that Deanne has, if they want more deducted, you have to get this bottom signature. This one's blank because he just picked the original, like whatever deduction amount he was fine with, what was placed as the ALX. But if they want to, you know, let's say they want to bump it up to $25 a pay period, then you have to get this down here signed, okay? And then technically you need a new payroll authorization, okay? So since you're going to have them do the .hub anyways, get them to sign a new payroll authorization for the increased amount. If they're okay with whatever deduction amount you originally agreed upon, obviously you don't need that, okay? So whatever option they pick, then say, okay, all I need is just, since I'm doing this right over the phone, the only thing I need is an electronic signature, and I'm gonna send you a text message through DocHub. So hold on 1 second, and when you place that call, I'd have DocHub up, and then go ahead and just type their phone number in, send it, say, okay, if you look at your phone, you should see a text message from me. Go ahead and click on the link, turn your phone sideways, sign it, and go ahead and send. And then you can place it on here through DocHub, okay? Any questions on how to place CODs? Okay, but that's from my experience, that's kind of the best way. You're keeping it's a surprise for the client, but you're walking them through exactly what that new coverage is looking like, but you're also giving them options, and then when you close it out, you remind them it's all about locking in their age and health. You'll be back next year, so you're comforting them, letting them know, like, hey, you know, if you're good with just what you originally agreed upon, we'll be back, you can always add to it. And then letting them actually choose what they want to do. But it's also keeping the control on, like, okay, I'm giving you these 3 options, and no is not really an option. It's kind of walking them through a more positive way to place it, if that makes any sense, okay? Any questions on that? All right, so that's COD placement. Anything you want to add?
Just on, I mean, it kind of ties right into the DCN and persistency, so it kind of runs them together.
And I know, like, when you guys place, you know, ALX, when you have those conversations, it's uncomfortable. You know, you never want to tell a client bad news, but the more you do it, and if you walk them through kind of that process, it's very positive. Worst case scenario, it's already charged back anyways, even if they don't, you know what I mean? Like, if they don't take it, you've at least given those options, because what happens is if you procrastinate and you don't ever make that call just because you're scared to, you know, try to place an ALX, because I know that happens, you know, because it was very uncomfortable the first couple times I had to do it, but you're not giving them the option to actually have it at that point, because if you don't get a signature, you don't go through those options, it's going to stay charged back, and then they don't have the coverage anyways. So but yeah, that's pretty much how you place it, okay? So now we're gonna roll into, the persistency report, which this is actually one of my favorite reports. I know it's very time consuming for, Deanne, but it's a huge tool to make sure that we get, we stay on top of, you know, our persistency, and obviously the better your persistency is, the more bonus money that there is. So, all good things.
Okay, so this report, I send this out to ADs and essays, so the essays can sit down and go over it with their agents, review it, kind of explain it, so this may help essays trying explaining this to your agents as you see this report. Like she said, this report helps you know how your bonus is getting paid. Is it gonna be bad? How do I fix it? And I'm gonna go through what you're gonna see on here, what that information means to you, and then I'm gonna have Tony come in, if you can let him know probably just a few moments, he can come in and get that 1% up talk.
Oh, okay.
Or text him real quick, tell him we're ready for him if you, but Tony's gonna come in and explain to you how to fix your numbers if you don't like your numbers. Because those numbers, that's persistency numbers, as you guys all know, that's how you get paid, how your bonus is affected, all of that. So when I send this to the ADs and the essays, I have an overview, so we pulled up Amanda's. So you have here, shows persistency right here, paid less than 3 months, or up to under 12 and 3. So it blocks it out for you and kind of shows you on this amount how many policies are affecting that and giving you that percentage number. So you go down, you can see where everybody's sitting at 91, 95, 100s, and right through there, and then it also gives Amanda her total. And it even actually adds all in the previous agents, like agents that we quoted and things like that, or people that have left already. You're still gonna be on your report, so for you as essays. They're gonna affect you. So go in, I have tabs down here on the bottom. I have Amanda, Craig, Diana, Rachel, Christine, previous agents.
Here goes Craig.
So on the previous agents, all of you essays and need to be looking in there, because I also have started labeling it. I put like Diana, your agents that you had under you were here. Those policies you probably wrote, put in their name to help them during that first year. Same for you, Craig and Terry, and you'll have them in there even if there's no essay to that person anymore, they never were. Actually, it's just a code. It'll actually just be under previous agents. So those are policies that you guys wrote. Are you laughing at before?
No, elementary school question.
Yeah.
The alligator eats, what's say, the less or the more?
The more.
The
The
more.
more.
Yes.
So that's less than.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be able to.
I have to do the same thing.
I just want to be able to read the report properly as you're explaining it.
So go in there and check those previous agents, because those policies, if you look down in that line, those are the ones affecting your persistency for your team, for yourself. And you can get on your agents and say like, hey, you need to take care of these. These are some of yours that you wrote. If that makes sense on the previous agents. So I'm gonna open that up now. What I start out with.
Amanda, I need your phone. Yeah, I don't have enough memory.